So I was born in Gambia, which is a small West African country. And yeah, I come from a very humble family. My dad worked for Civil Aviation Authority and then for the Standard Chartered Bank, and my mom was a teacher. We lived a very humble family life. I mean, I have fond memories as a child. However, when I was 11, I moved to the UK because it was identified that it would be it would be good in terms of opportunities for me to attain secondary level education in the UK. So I did my secondary school in Leighton, London, from the age of 11 till I was 17, 18. And I had in my mind that I wanted to be, so I dropped the pilot dream with the Air Force, and I decided to pursue a career in medicine. I actually received 2 offers to study medicine after my A levels. But towards my final year in college, I had this sort of identity crisis. Um, so Leighton, a very multicultural area, but I was also a Black Muslim, an African, and being a Muslim in a predominantly South Asian environment, where let's say the majority of the Black people would have been Caribbean and African and Christian, it let's just say that it caused me to basically try to figure out who I was. And one of the ways that I dealt with that crisis was to explore my faith and my Islamic identity in a more in-depth way. Long story short, I ended up identifying a scholarship opportunity in Saudi Arabia. I was given a very generous scholarship by the Saudi Arabian government to study a bachelor's degree in Islamic theology. It took 6 years because I had to spend 2 years learning the language itself. So I have a joke where I say, look, I am a Gambian-born, Arabian-speaking man who is a Swedish national but now lives in Edinburgh. So that's my bio in a little nutshell. So did my 6-year degree in Saudi Arabia, and yeah, I mean that was a phenomenal experience in itself. Towards the end of my bachelor's degree, I decided that I had a keen interest in actually understanding other faiths and religions more. So I applied for a master's degree in the religious roots of Europe in the University of Copenhagen. So again, very fortunate to be offered a full scholarship. So I went to Denmark, and whilst I was in Denmark, I actually decided to live in Sweden just because you had a 15-minute train ride between Malmo and Copenhagen. It was more economic for me as a student to live in Malmo. There were other reasons as well, but let's just say I preferred to do that. And towards the end of my degree, I developed an interest in understanding far right and right wing movements. But as a Muslim, I felt threatened by them, and I began to realize that as a person, and this shapes my leadership. Whenever I get troubled or worried about something, I actually seek to understand it. So I felt threatened as a Muslim by these right wing movements. So let me understand them. So that led to me doing, an extensive study of the EDL, the English Defence League. And then I identified myself as, look, I could be an academic. So I applied to the University of Copenhagen, the University of Edinburgh for a PhD, looking at how Muslims are responding to right-wing populism. So that's how I ended up in Scotland, and I've just loved the place. It's offered me so much, and that's where I am now. Yeah.